Right, I am recording, so just whenever works for you, just pitch to me, that's just recording.
Yeah. So this is Art House Eroticism for the Blind, an entirely honest and revolutionary explanation of the mind in every stage of consciousness. And here I've got a mind-expanding, universe-altering mood reel, which I think will adequately convey the sort of visual style I'm aiming for. Shall I play it?
Go for it. Oh.
Oh, miserable colony, wretched little caterpillar. Some want to become a butterfly. Don't you want to spread your wings and flap your way to glory? What's up?
Well then. Can you walk me through your title first of all?
It's kind of like a satire of like the most over-the-top, potentially meaningless art film you could come up with, really. It's kind of like a contradiction, because why would you show something so provocative to those unable to see it, which kind of feeds in to the idea of him just firing off, the protagonist firing off ridiculous ideas into just a void that never gets made. So it kind of connects like that. But so this is my ambition, and this is where I've talked about where all the different sources of inspiration have come from. So like I've got The Prisoner, which is a series that I've recently been rewatching in preparation for this, which is a very ambitious, surrealist series that's very allegorical in what it has to say in its depiction of its views on society and the like political system, and how we're all just numbers, we're all just a product of society, and we don't really have any unique identifying traits, or at least that's what our leaders would like us to think. It borders on conspiratorial, but it's just playful enough to seem reserved and sensible. And then like on like the complete almost opposite end of the spectrum of surrealism, I've got things like Meshes of the Afternoon, which is a 15-minute short film made in 1943 that's entirely silent. For ages didn't even have like a musical score, and it's just all about a sort of very loose narrative of a woman being pursued by a strange figure with a mirror for a face in the Hollywood Hills, and it's loads of people come with loads of different interpretations as to what it's about. But I find it very interesting, and I've sort of got my own views that I'm forming on it. And then The Producers is really nothing to do with surrealism at all, but it connects more to the narrative and the characters. It's much more like the ego-driven, eccentric writers and directors coming up with something so ludicrous and ambitious. In The Producers, though, it's sort of inversed, like they don't want their play to succeed. So mine's kind of the more typical route, but it's still got that element of surprise to it in the fact that there's still a twist that it will all go hideously wrong in the end. I think that colours the influences. I'm going to like break down the characters because that's like the source of the whole narrative itself. I've come up with like the characters first and then narrative around the decisions I'd imagine they would take. So Edward Bay is our very ego-driven and passionate filmmaker who's never really got anywhere before. He blames this on childhood trauma. He calls it by a art film director from the 1940s who died in a horrible accident, who he simply refers to as the lady in red who visits him in his nightmares, and he's sort of putting all his insecurities on her, all his defeats on her, and he thinks if he can just exercise that mental demon, he can make his way to success. But along the story, he'll meet someone who does help him do that, but in an unlikely way. And then here I've sort of got a mood board to demonstrate the sort of like props and costumes. Like, I'm not sure if I'm actually going to include a typewriter in the script, but it's more symbolic of his obsessions. And I've got like red handkerchief, maybe like a red tie or something, which is like a sort of visual nod to the fact he can't escape from the lady in red who he feels is haunting him. And then you've got Gordon Bay, who's his brother, and he's created this PsycheLink program, which revolves around a mental implant in your brain, which can preserve the sort of creative side of who you are for all eternity. And Edward's very miffed that his brother has got so far in the creative world doing something that is really terribly uncreative. It's just a business. So he's trying to compete with him and end up getting the implant. And the image I've got here to sort of reflect that is an actual image that Elon Musk uses to promote the Neuralink, which is a pretty obvious inspiration here. But that's sort of where it formed, and I just sort of merged it with all my inspirations from the creative and commentary on filmmaking side of it, which is like the core of the film. And again, I've got a mood board here. There's like the tie here I want him to sort of wear in the film, because just to show his obsession with film. It's like a Laurel and Hardy themed one. And then like you've got like on the opposite end of the spectrum, he's very corporate and is completely bought in to like all the gimmicks of the corporate world. So it's like the two ends of the spectrum, like really conflicting with each other, and Edward can see through that, but he's just blind to it and believes in his own brilliance. And then I've got like touches like the false moustache that I want him to wear, is in like quite a fun way of showing like that's the only way you can tell them apart, because you're going to be played by the same person. That's from Spellbound, the Salvador Dali sequence in there. So it's going to be quite a similar thing in this montage where he introduces the program. A lot of like really over the top, stereotypical art film surrealist imagery. It doesn't really mean anything, but he likes to believe that it does.
I like that.
And then this is Larry Moe, name taken from the Three Stooges. And he's just this sweeper outside of the building. He's actually much more intelligent than the two brothers, but they would never admit that because to them he's just a sweeper at these offices. But Edward mistakes him for this excellent playwright. They sort of form a close bond, and in the end he does actually help him a lot with his film and gets him to the place he needs to be. But this is the case, like very unlikely people working together to create something that would never have been made without someone so vastly different. This is the mood board. Like sort of like got physical elements of physical performance. I'm like influenced by like 1920s silent comics like Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin, and then like I've paired these two together because there's this scene where he finds like a sandwich wrapper on the floor and his back seizes up, he brings it up, and it's like that the iconic Shakespeare moment which triggers the mistaken identity part of the story. And he's got various like scruffy clothes because obviously you're not going to be well dressed.
That's the office chair.
That's a reference to the sort of corporate world
Right.
that he enters.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So it's like a juxtaposition of who he is and where he ends up. And then the final like major character is Debbie. She's the receptionist to Edward, and she is sort of like a commentary on the very phone-obsessed modern culture, which is why I've got this image here. And he's not very polite to her. She is very stupid, but he's almost unnecessarily horrible, and she sort of compliments Larry in the sense that he's an unlikely character who is genuinely much more intelligent, and then a character who is just ignored and dismissed, but is actually a bit daft. And it sort of speaks of his arrogance that he thinks he could fire her and still get someone better, but really he can't afford that. She's like the best he can get. And then this is like the mood board for her character, quite inspired by Lucy from Twin Peaks, a very dim-witted receptionist character. And then obviously like the typical stock image view of the phone-obsessed receptionist, and glasses, and it's quite a broad character. But and this is where they all fit into the story now, which is that Edward is obsessed with getting this psyche ink to it's like a symbolic of him finally exercising the demon of the lady in red and getting where he wants to be in the film industry, and is able to produce wonderful films for future generations. But this will go disastrously wrong because, as the real world often goes, implanting technological chips into your brain isn't a very good idea.
Yeah, you would think so.
But obviously he's blind to this, and Larry doesn't get any of the credit. He just carries on his life as a sweeper in these offices, even though like he was the impetus for everything. And again, Debbie carries on as well. So it's kind of an allegory for like how arrogance never really, it may get you somewhere in terms of success, but in terms of like that inner satisfaction, it will always be quite hollow, because it's all meaningless. It's what you actually make that's important and who you acknowledge, rather than just being so fueled by your constant self-belief that you end up making things that really don't have any substance to them.
Yeah.
And then it's like a mood board for the overall film, quite lighting focused. And then also like this image from Inland Empire here is like a nod to the moment in the script where this woman sort of becomes engulfed in flames. As the word politicians is mentioned, it's like this sort of frightened, demonic depiction of people in power. And then we've got the Coen brothers film Barton Fink, which is a real inspiration because it's a similar thing of a writer who just totally believes that everything he writes is wonderful, and if he doesn't get anywhere, it's other people not understanding him. Yeah, me too. It's one of my favourites. Only recently discovered it. And then David Lynch, in terms of the like visual style, is a big influence, and the producers, and obviously Lucy in the Corner. So the locations I've got in mind currently, is like sort of, these are the more peripheral locations, like the sort of cameoed ones. I've got a lovely church in Westbury, which is going to make an appearance. That one isn't quite finalised yet. It depends on, I might explore a few more and see which ones are best. But I just thought it's quite picturesque and it contrasts with the sort of nightmare it's going to be a part of. And then the Odeon in Trowbridge is like symbolic of that's where Edward ends up in his mind at the end, a cinema that he can't get inside of because he's blocked himself off.
It's quite like a ghastly futuristic building as well.
Yeah.
It's almost like comically trying to reach for something it's not that building.
Yeah, it's always like a really villainous Art Deco look, but it still looks quite corporate and bland at the same time. And then
It's like the Jetsons meets Aviva HQ, weirdly.
yeah,
Yeah.
got this is just a picture I took for a road in Westbury for the quiet street element. I was just walking here like a few weeks ago and I thought, this is so eerily quiet, and the very low street lighting, it did seem like something from a David Lynch film, and I thought this would be wonderful to capture in a similar time of day for my film. And then this is a shot from a sci-fi film I did like way back in level 2. I'm going to return to the hospital room in college.
Is that what that is? The hospital
Yeah,
there?
but I've just gone all out with the effects in Premiere Pro to make it look really distorted and sinister. So I'm going to go for like a slightly similar thing this time. Probably not quite as over the top, but still quite cold and unnatural. And this is the main location. This is the office, which is just near the esports room,
Yes.
near reception. This is where Lucy will be based. She's going to have like a laptop here, but she doesn't pay any attention to it. She'll be on her phone. And this is the room we've got Thomas standing in, because I've currently cast him as Larry. He'll be like forced to sit down with Edward to come up with nonsensical ideas, and then he was just sort of like an example of some creative framing.
Yeah, I like a wide from back there.
Yeah. And it also like, I thought that the bars of the stairs had like a sort of prison look to it, which kind of ties in with the themes of the film. So I'm quite set on filming here at this point, because a lot of this has been walking around, seeing locations, and then the narrative sort of builds from there as I come up with characters and associate them with them. So it's quite set at this point. In terms of like the technical aspects, I've decided to like pretty much, if I can, shoot solely on prime lenses, because the improved picture quality, and I don't like zooming with lenses. I think it can look quite tacky because it's quite jumpy. So I'd much rather do that in Premiere at the end and use tripods where I can, unless of course it's like a particularly dreamy handheld sequence, because of that stability. And I think just having like quite a locked look looks more professional, and also as an element of the viewer can't escape from what's happening if it's like a particularly terrifying sequence. And like the mic is as fixed to the camera is kind of out of necessity, because I don't think I can really talk many people in to coming down for several days just to be a boom mic operator.
That's okay. We'll come back to that. But yeah.
Then like I've found this torch on Amazon, which on the other slide I had that UV look of some testing I did with Thomas and Charlie a while ago, and I just thought, because Charlie has one of these, I thought this would be amazing for my film. It's really powerful. It's got all sorts of settings, and it's much more freeing than having big studio lights. I can take it anywhere if I'm gonna shoot something off the cuff in a surreal sequence. So I've just thought it'd be a good investment to make for this film. And then at the end, this is a reference to the Mein Kampf joke in my script. This is where I might talk about how, like, I'm very, very passionate about this film. So it's an element of overcoming things that I'm quite precious about in the story to make a better film. It's almost mirrored in the actual film I'm making. You do have to take a step back sometimes and just think whether good I think this is. It slows up the pacing. Just today, actually, I've been going through the script and just highlighting things and sections of dialogue which I think are really good, but slightly disrupts the pacing. So this is just where I'm thinking of culling it down a bit, make it more achievable and make a better film as a result of this. And I think that's the end of the slideshow.
That was really good. Very, very, very good.
Thank you.
I have, so there's made a mental note to myself to mention, have you seen adaptation film?
No.
So that's worth watching, because that's written by Charlie Kaufman and directed by Spike Jonze, and that's about twin brothers played by Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
It's one of his much better films.
Yeah.
And basically Nicolas Cage, one of them, is a successful screenwriter in Hollywood, and he's being commissioned to write a book about not about orchids, about an orchid thief. And he can't do it. He just can't remain true to this material. But meanwhile, his idiot clod of a brother is somehow really successful in buying a very trite, trashy action script and being really successful with it. And it's very meta, and it's got all sort of a few things that are going on with yours.
Yeah.
So it might be worth watching.
That sounds really relevant, actually. I'll definitely watch that.
That is worth watching. And any Charlie Kaufman thing in general is probably well off your street.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I can't remember exactly what season it is, but there's a season of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Oh, yeah, I've heard.
So there's a series of Curb Your Enthusiasm where Larry David is hired to be in the play The Producers, and it's produced by Mel Gibson now. And they're doing The Producers on the play The Producers in real life.
Yeah.
So that series of TV is really worth watching.
Yeah.
Because it's the plot of The Producers, but it's done over again. And
I think I've read about this actually. When I was researching it, I thought it sounded really paradoxical and strange.
And it's really well done. And it's basically the idea is they're hiring Larry David because they know he's just going to ruin it, and because they want The Producers to end, which is what The Producers about. So that's worth it. But the only note I've got on that is we've talked about doing tests and stuff.
Yeah.
You still need to do that. And I'd say figure out a system where you can do this. Don't use a top mic,
Yeah.
because it will just sound crap, as I think you'll get into the edit. And even if you use a Zoom mic, have this, hide it on your characters,
Yeah.
because it doesn't need to be visible, because it will pick up anywhere. You can have it inside here. Just hide it and use one of the Zoom recorders and have that on your actor and just sync clap, and you'll get perfect sound.
That's a good idea. And that's definitely something to test as well, because I wouldn't be confident doing that straight in the shoot.
Yeah, so just do it we'll do it together 20 times.
Yeah.
And it's very easy. You just sort of go, mic in Zoom, press record on here, go, scene 3, take one, and then just go like that. And you just sync it out, and you got perfect audio. I guarantee it will make your film 50 times better
Yeah.
than it will be used in the top mic. That was really good.
Thank you.
Very good. Any reservations yourself, or are you pretty confident?
I'm pretty confident. I'm just a little bit unsure of timings, because I've deliberately chosen locations in college for the bulk of the film out of convenience, and then obviously I just thought, why go out finding office sets when they're perfectly good ones just right in the building?
Yeah.
And then I thought that college is going to potentially be shut over Easter, which is the main 2 weeks that I'd want to be filming for. So I'm not quite sure.
I'm not sure it is, but
Okay.
we'll find out about that. And what I'd say is, if you use college, I think the boardroom you got is great,
Yeah.
but I'd be tempted. I was the office, but I'd be tempted move the tables around,
Yeah.
make it look not what it is.
Yeah.
And if you use that space for the receptionist, I think that's great, but make it at the receptionist's desk. See if you can move on the desks and tie it up a bit, like her desk would be,
Yeah.
and just put all that effort in, because the devil will be in the detail.
Yeah.
But well done, and
Thank you.